Light it up.
Welcome to Tatooine-sons, a pop culture podcast, the only fan podcast to name a canon Star Wars creature and to be endorsed by the writer-director of The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson. And it's Wednesday, which means that it is New Comic Book Day. Woo! And we love comic books here. Most of us, some of us. Dad.
That was a cheap move.
Doesn't read them all that much.
Not a comic book guy.
And we
used to be.
We don't talk about them as much as we should. I mean, they kind of started most of what we talk about today. So beginning today, that changes. I'll share what new issues release today and on New Comic Book Day, and we'll go into a more in-depth discussion regarding Avengers Twilight. And if you enjoyed our coverage of DC's Kingdom Come, you should be reading Avengers Twilight, but I'll share why next. This is Tatooine-sons.
It's true. All of it.
What is the name of the porg on the Millennium Falcon?
Force is strong in my family.
What do you think his name is? It's a big moment.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Maybe Terbus?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Terbus? Pablo, if you're listening to this live stream, that porg's name is now Terbus. It's a good Star Wars name.
We're not done yet.
These guys recorded an awesome podcast called Tatooine-sons. Everybody listen to it.
This is Tatooine-sons, a pop culture podcast. We believe that pop culture is the mythology of this generation, that there's a story written on our souls, and that these myths speak to that story. And that's why we're talking about Avengers Twilight, along with some other new comics releasing this week. So,
I just want to stop and say how cool it was for me to hear you.
I'm sure that's different.
Reading
sure
those intros. I mean, it's what I've done for years, and it's kind of cool to hear somebody else do it.
I'm sure it's different a little bit.
But you guys have both grown up. You're both you graduated high school.
You're a rebel now.
College. You don't need me anymore. You don't need your dad.
Right. Totally. No. But we did just get back from a trip.
Yeah.
We went to the the Mouse House, the happiest place on earth. Some people call it. How was y'all's trip?
I loved it. I had a great time. What'd you think?
I want to go home and rethink my life.
It was fun. It was hot.
It was hot. It was
so busy in the parks, but it's always fun. We always have a good time there. There really wasn't much new, though.
There wasn't.
Nothing new. No. Tiana's Bayou doesn't open till later in June, so we didn't get a chance to do that one. No. But it was fun to do all the rides that we love to do. I think that for us, we've learned that as being annual pass holders who have gone multiple times, it allows us to have a different experience than those people that get to go once every 3-4 years and have to try to get everything in every single park, every single day. We're able to sort of take a step back and just kind of go through it. It was a lot of fun, though.
Right. It was a ton of fun.
Absolutely.
It was great. Yeah. But enough talking about Disney. Let's talk about some comics that are releasing this week. So we're going to be going over some issues. Some of the issues that are being pulled the most this week. Thankfully, there's a great website that tells me what's being pulled the most. But I'm going to touch more on...
And now a great podcast.
Anything else?
But I am going to touch more on one of these series that's new that has kind of been really big, and it is going to probably sell out really quickly.
Okay.
So first we have Batman issue 148. Now, I was following this Batman series, but being an hour away from my comic store and not knowing how to start a pull list at that point, I got behind. And when you get behind on a bi-monthly series that comes out 2 times a month, you get lost and they sell out, and it's just difficult to catch up.
This deal is getting worse all the time.
So I haven't followed it recently.
Now, real quick question for somebody that's sort of a complete novice to the comic book world now. Are there moments in those big long runs? I mean, 148 issues. This is a major run. Are there moments where they kind of give you start on and stop off spots?
Usually when new authors come into play. But there are things that happen that are throughout the entire run. I mean, we had Batman issue 50 was the marriage of Batman and Catwoman. I don't think that they're still together, but they are. That was some stuff that was brought up in this most recent run that's something I was lost on because I hadn't followed it for quite some time.
Interesting.
So they do keep things running, but usually when there's a new writer, they pretty much start things over.
Just curious. Yeah.
With also the Amazing Spider-Man issue 51, I haven't read any of the issues to this series. I haven't.
Is this the series I haven't been hearing?
I haven't heard good things, but it is a main Spider-Man run, so it's always going to be popular. But I haven't heard great things. I've heard some swing to the fences that just kind of missed. But X-Men issue 35. Now I'm pretty sure this is a pretty big issue. We just got done, I think, with the fall of the House of X comic arc. So I think this is pretty much either the culmination of that or what's happened after that. So pretty big issue. Definitely worth picking up if you have read the X-Men series. And also, surprisingly, Venom issue 34 is a very popular issue coming out this week. I don't know much about the main Venom run, but I have heard great things about it. And I've heard that it's fun, and the character of Venom has started to become really well fleshed out. Not that he already wasn't, but having his own main run, 35 issues deep. That's cool. That's a few years of writing for this series. So it's big. But the main one I want to touch on is the Ultimates issue 1. Now, this has been a series that has been kind of building up for the past year and a half, maybe. And then we're finally getting this series. So I'm going to read the description that we were given for this issue, the series that we were supposed to have today. It says the Ultimates return to greatness, spinning out of Jonathan Hickman and Stefano Caselli's Ultimate Universe issue 1. Rising stars Denise Camp. He did the Children of the Vault and 20th Century Men. That is indie comics, but it's great to see him kind of making his way into Marvel. And Juan Friguera, who did Invincible Iron Man, which Sam will touch on a little bit later. Assemble an all new team of Ultimates in a series that kicks off the next chapter of the new Ultimate line. 6 months ago, Tony Stark sent Peter Parker, radioactive Spider, to set him back on the course to become Spider-Man. Since then, Iron Lad, Tony Stark, Captain America, Doom, Thor, and Sif have begun to do the same for other lost heroes, building a network of super-powered heroes hungry for change. And now they must band together to destroy the Maker's Council and restore freedom and free will to a world ruled from the shadows. Now, Sam, you did read the Ultimate Universe run. Ultimate Invasion, and you did read the Ultimate Universe issue 1. At least I got it for you. I'm not sure if you read it yet, but it was months ago. But you haven't kept up with any of the other series since then. You haven't kept up with Ultimate Spider-Man or X-Men or Black Panther or anything like that. Will you be picking this one up? Will you try to read this one? I know it has Iron Man in it, so probably.
Well, I mean, that's really the...
Well, they have a new suit because if so, you have to, right?
He does,
well,
but it's not the main
different
line.
Version of Iron Man. But I mean, yeah, I'm gonna follow this. You know, none of the other series were all that interesting to me just because, they didn't have Iron Man. But
it's such a shame.
I read the Ultimate Invasion and I read the Ultimate Universe or something, and they were interesting. It's a weird story and it's a little tough to follow at times. Also, probably because I didn't read the original Ultimate Universe.
Okay, so there was pieces that you were missing, puzzle.
But regardless, it is interesting. It's kept me intrigued. It's an interesting alternate take on the Marvel Universe. So I am curious to see what they do with this main run, because this is the main run of the Ultimate series at this point. It is. So I'm interested to see where they go with this.
A quick question. Help me understand the idea of Iron Lad, because that seems like something I'm not familiar with.
How do I explain this? His dad worked with the Maker, who is Reed Richards but evil, and ended up he ended up becoming Kang, but then came back and changed his mind and turned himself good.
The Maker did?
No, Iron Lad.
Iron Lad.
Tony
Is that
Stark.
Tony?
That's Tony.
Tony Stark became Kang,
This is not going to go the way you think.
but realized he was wrong, so he went back and told himself not to do that, and so his younger self became
The comic books
Iron
world
Lad.
is a completely different universe.
I need to reread that series before I read this one again, because it's all so fuzzy to me. But I thought it was a cool,
It is
a cool version of the character.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's been a ton of fun. Ultimate Spider-Man has been one of the greatest series out right now. It's been fantastic. Art's great. It's awesome to see a Peter Parker that's married to MJ.
Oh, you were telling me about this one.
The force is strong in my family.
And then it is like in his late 30s, maybe early 40s, finally becoming Spider-Man.
And then become, Okay.
It's weird. It's very different. It's very good. It's something that's been selling out. I think we're probably on our 4th printing of the first issue by now.
Wow, that's impressive.
It's crazy. It's
So
crazy.
this is a hugely popular run.
It is the most popular run Marvel has been doing right now, including the Ultimate X-Men run and the Ultimate Black Panther
Which
run.
is cool because if you know anything about the Ultimates universe, when it initially came out and was running, it was not received well at all.
Really?
It was really not.
because it was just so different and controversial.
Well, and they
or
did
what?
stupid things with characters.
Yeah.
It was just not well received.
It was-
at all.
it was
So
just
it's cool
off,
to see
yeah.
it's coming back
Very
stronger.
interesting.
Yeah, so those are the new comics releasing this week. It's not just that. There are hundreds of issues always releasing every week. Those are just the big ones. I do recommend to check with your local comic store, see what they have. Definitely,
Even if it's an hour away.
Right. Definitely starting a pull list for the ones that you want to follow. And there are
Can you
so much
do
coming
me a
out.
favor? Give a shout out to the comic book store that
Yes.
you've dealt with, because it's sort of your like it is
Pet peeve.
Well, no, the comic book store that you go to now that
Yes.
you're going to,
I like this guy.
it seems to me to be what so many comic book stores
Definitely.
are for so many. And I think that it's important that we support these comic
Definitely.
book
It's
stores.
Pop Comics of Pensacola. They're awesome. They always have the issues I need in stock. And living an hour away, it is difficult to get down there unless I just definitely go out of the way for it. So he's let me start a pull list and let me pick up like once a month just so that I don't have to make the trip down there every week.
It's amazing.
So I can just not have to worry about that as much. It's been great. I haven't ever had a comic store that's really done that. It's always been difficult to find a comic store that just felt like I could rely on. It was always difficult to find the issues I needed, if they were the right versions and all that stuff. But this one, I always have what I need, always on time, and everything has been great. So yes, definitely support local comic book stores, because they need the support for sure. But let's not talk about that anymore. Let's talk about the series that we have been reading. I have been reading, Sam has been reading, Dad hasn't been reading, and maybe clue him in some more.
Okay.
So for this first series, we're going to be talking about Avengers Twilight. Now, by the time you're hearing this, today was the final issue of this series. It's the climactic issue of this series. But as of recording,
I got a bad feeling about this.
we've only had the penultimate issue, the one before the ending of this series. And I can firmly tell you that.
So this issue comes out today on June 5th?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, well, no, it comes out last week as of recording. It comes out last week.
Okay.
But it will be available. And just let me tell you, this series, it's been one heck of a ride. There's always been something crazy going on in every issue. It's crazy. I'm not going to try to spoil it as much as I can. I don't want to. Even in the first issue, there was stuff that shocked me.
So what's the premise of the series?
So the premise of the series is this is very much like the Kingdom Come,
but
for Marvel.
It started that way.
It started that way. But that's pretty much what I'm going to give for it. But because there's so much that happens in this series that if I say one thing, it can tip the hand of something else. Because
so this is going to make for a really interesting conversation.
I don't speak that.
I have it lined out. You hijacked it. But pretty much what the series has done, it's been a very well written series. Chip Zdarsky has done an amazing job writing these characters, making me emotionally attached to these characters. I was already emotionally attached to, of course, these are superheroes that I've learned to love for sure, but also giving new depth to them and introducing new characters, shocking twists later in the series, things that I never would have seen coming.
We're doomed.
And just some really amazing stuff. But I do have to give a shout out to the art in the series.
Yeah.
Daniel Acuna. I think that's how you say his name. I'm sorry if I'm butchering it, but he's done a few things that I have read before, but this is definitely trying to live up to the standards of Kingdom Come. It does have similar feel, but he didn't copy and paste Kingdom Come's art. He has done his own thing with it.
It's like a watercolor.
It is. It's haunting. It's dark. There are some moments, even in this penultimate issue, there was a couple panels that were just disturbing to say the least, but it is so well done. It is beautiful, and it's difficult to get that type of art again in a comics now, because every comic has a different art style. The artists have different art styles for sure. And there's some that's like, wow, that's amazing. And then there are others, like I was reading today. I love the Weapon X-Men series going on right now. But one thing that feels like it's lacking, it just feels like a generic art style. And if it had a little bit more flair to it, I think it would be great. It's amazing art, technically, very well done, but it just feels like the same things we've seen 100 times over. But Avengers Twilight has not done that. It's been amazing. Now, Sam, you have read most of this series. What have you thought about it so far?
I really enjoy it. I mean, at first, it seemed like just a Marvel. It just felt like Kingdom Come, but they copy and pasted the Marvel characters on it, and I was going to be okay with that. Kingdom Come was a great story. I loved it. I wanted to see what they do with the Marvel characters in it. But as the series went on, they started doing their own thing with it, and it almost became more like,
I have an idea.
Kingdom Come was the setting, and then there's doing something totally different with the story. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm curious to see where they go with it. I mean, I left off on a pretty big cliffhanger from what I last remember, and I need to pick back up to see what's happening.
Do you think that they intentionally made you, like, pulled you in thinking that this was Kingdom Come to get you hooked and curious to see how Marvel was going to play that out, and then twisted it to kind of like...
I do. I think otherwise it would be difficult to get anyone excited about it. Otherwise, it's just old superheroes. But they're doing a great job at balancing the tried and true with the new.
Yes, definitely.
And like Nathan said, it's going at having its own art style that's iconic and recognizable, but not just being the Alex Ross.
That's cool.
Stuff. Even though Alex Ross does do the cover,
he does do variant covers for each one of these.
Oh wow, that's
I
really
thought he
cool.
did
No, he does. He does. He does cover B for each one of these. So
Wow, that's pretty cool.
it is. It's definitely.
And
great.
just a real quick plug: we did a whole series, 8 episodes, including an interview with Mark Waid. Right?
we did.
On Kingdom Come last year. Check out the podcast. I'll put a link in the comments there. You can check out that series as well.
Yes, and Dad, you did like the story of Kingdom Come.
I did. I loved it.
Would you ever consider reading this series?
Same thing I always do, talk my way out of it.
I'm curious about it.
Because I can get you digital editions of each one of these issues.
Really?
Yes, because each one of these issues do come with a digital code. So it's an amazing story.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. Well, I'm curious. How many issues are we into it right now?
We're 5, so it's a 6-issue series. Mhm.
Definitely would be open to checking it out based on what you guys were talking about with Kingdom Come and how it twists that idea and takes it down a different path with characters that seem pretty I mean, is it all your classic Marvel characters?
Yeah.
It is.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely open to learning a little bit about it and checking it out for sure.
It's a really great series. I highly recommend picking it up. And I know that they have put in a solicitation for a trade paperback version of it here pretty soon. So if you want to wait till that comes out, not trying to find all the single issues, probably waiting till fall of this year to be able to pick up that paperback, I highly recommend it. It's going to be great. Maybe waiting for a hardcover because usually the art on a hardcover is fantastic. Now, for the next series, I've personally been reading this one.
This is it.
I'm personally farther behind on this one than I would like, but that's not by choice. All right. So like we said, my comic store is very far away, and the big anniversary issue apparently had a misprint.
What?
And I got that issue. I have it, but I haven't read it yet because I don't want to read something that isn't all the way finished.
So explain, because that goes back to the comic book store that you were talking about a minute ago.
I was picking up the issue and he said there was apparently a misprint and a couple pages might be missing. So whenever he gets the real version, he's going to get me that one, but I could have it if I wanted it.
That's cool.
I have it just to say I have the misprint, but I don't want to read it yet because I don't know if I'm going to miss something important to the story. But besides that, where I've gotten up to, I think I'm pretty far into the series at this point. It's been an amazing Daredevil story. It's been great. Following up Chip Zdarsky's run, probably one of the most influential and amazing runs Daredevil has had in decades, probably since Born Again. Following that up is difficult. I mean, when you end something as complicated as Chip Zdarsky left it, which is a tradition with Daredevil, the past author usually leaves it to be horrible to pick up for the next author.
That smells stinky.
He's done such
What a wild tradition.
He's done such an amazing job with it. It's been amazing. It's been well done. And it's Daredevil fighting the 7 deadly sins that are possessing important people.
Now you will experience the full power of the dark side.
In his life, important heroes and just some important influential people in Matt Murdock's life. I don't know what more you could ask for from a Daredevil story. It's well done. It's intense. And while I was talking about how amazing the art is in Avengers Twilight, I think I have to say that the art in this one is better. There are some panels where I've just sat there just looking at it, just shocked by how well done this art is. And one thing that's a bit unfortunate, they do have a different cover artist rather than the inside artist. And the cover artist doesn't do horrible. He has some really great issues he knocks it out of the park with. And then he has some issues where the cover art's just like, oh, that's a bit off. I don't know if I feel like that matches the tone of the comic itself. And usually it doesn't really, but if you get past the cover art and you see some of the stuff on the inside, like the Daredevil versus Wolverine issue has been one of my favorites we've gotten. The art inside is
what was
amazing.
Wolverine's deadly sin?
Wrath?
No. So we were actually led to believe it was wrath the entire time, but it was lust.
Ooh,
it was
like bloodlust.
It was Matt Murdock's lust for violence.
Matt Murdock?
So, yes. Huh. It was his. So all these 7 deadly sins are parts of Matt Murdock.
They're the struggles that Matt is having.
Right. So
personified in one of these other characters.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So that's what happened with Daredevil. That's what happened with Wolverine. And they fought till almost Matt was dead. And there's some amazing points in this series, some points where I cheered. I don't usually cheer when I'm reading comics, but there are points when I did. Same with Chip Zdarsky's run. If you haven't read that run, I highly recommend it. To leading up to this one it's amazing. It's well done. I know some people have had differences of opinions on it. I know that some people don't like the religious aspects of it. I don't know what they're wanting.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
It's Daredevil. You kind of have to have that. That's what made the TV show great. It's what got me into Daredevil, and it's what is continuing to be amazing. And they are just diving headfirst into that, and it is improving the character. It's improving the run, and people are really enjoying it, and I'm enjoying it. But Dad, could you ever see a story like this in the MCU, or is it just too supernatural?
I mean, the Daredevil series, specifically, I think it's season 2, isn't it?
Yes, I have the hand in it.
That with the hand and the resurrection of the dead and the spiritual components with that. That worked really, really well. In that, I'm trying to think of any other I mean, you do it with more of like the witchcraft stuff with Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange and such. But I would love to see, I love the idea of the worst parts of Matt being personified in these other characters and him having to battle those demons, so to speak, with it. Do I think that they would do this? Probably not. But I love the idea of that and what that shows us about relating to the weaknesses and the struggles that we have internally, right? We like to project those onto other people having those problems. But in this story, it seems like Matt is having to confront that it may be Wolverine that's got bloodlust, but really it's me that I'm fighting here. I love that idea.
Right. It's been stellar. I can't wait. I'm probably just gonna have to suck it up and read that misprint.
Maybe you can swing down and pick up your comics
behind on it because the last one came out last week. As recording this, it came out last week, but it's great. I highly recommend it if you can read it. But now for a fun little segment. It's not me anymore. It's not up to me. I'm going to leave this one up to Sam.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first?
Sam, how has the Invincible Iron Man run been so far?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't really read anything Iron Man before this, except you got me the Extremis run.
Great run.
From when that was back in the early 2000s, I think. And that was good. That was really good. It was interesting. Way different than what they did in Iron Man 3, I'll tell you that. But, so this is the first series I've actually read consistently and followed as it was happening. I saw that they were starting a new series. It was right when I was getting into it, so I was like, might as well start following. I think they're a good 25.
Yeah, we're pretty far into this.
And it's interesting. it's a little tough to follow at times, or it was, because it was so closely tied with the Fall of the House of X storyline, and I'm not following that. I'm just reading this for Iron Man. So with it being so, I mean, it is like running parallel and highly influential. It was a little tough to follow at times. That said, it's interesting, and the premise is cool but concerning. I mean, it starts off with Tony being like, if you're reading this is my autobiography, I'm dead.
It's a trap.
Wow.
And the rest of the series has just been him like detailing what's been going on. So like, is he dead? What's going on? How does he die? Like, I'm just really curious to see where they're going. And I think it's coming to a conclusion soon. I'm a good issue or two behind, I think, and I need to catch up. But it's been cool so far. I've enjoyed it. It's done some interesting things for the character. One reason why I got into reading these comics is because I had a mission to collect the first appearance of every Iron Man suit in the main comic run.
I mean, you're wearing an Iron Man shirt even as you're recording right now.
So, you know, I love all the different suits that Iron Man comes up with. And so it was fun to be reading this series and then hear that he's going to be making a new suit and then see that issue happen where he creates the new suit. He actually made 2. And that was a lot of fun for me just because, it's a new one I can put on my wall. And I was there when it happened, sort of thing.
That is cool.
So that's been fun, but it's an interesting story. I hope they don't kill him off, but then again, it probably wouldn't be the first time or the last.
It won't be the last.
So, you know, it's
not like you didn't experience that in every episode of the first season of What If.
Seriously.
So
yeah, it's nothing new for me, but I've been enjoying it. I kind of want to go back and reread the series that happened before this one though, because I heard that one was really good. I read a couple issues of it and it was really interesting.
Yeah, I've heard it was
so.
Good too.
But yeah, it's fun. It's nothing like phenomenal, I'd say, but it's entertaining enough.
That's
and
awesome.
It's Iron Man, so I can't complain.
Very true.
it's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. And pretty much, I know we talked a lot about Marvel today, but Marvel has been knocking it out of the park with comics recently. It's been great. DC's trying to find their footing still. They're in between crises.
Which is a good thing in DC. A crisis is a good thing.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But we are finally getting the Elseworlds line back to DC after a hiatus of probably 20 years.
Wow.
We're finally getting it back. And
Didn't the Elseworlds line, and let's see if I can pull from the archives of useless trivia that I have. Didn't the Elseworlds line start with Gaslight by Gotham?
Gotham by Gaslight.
Gotham by Gaslight.
I'm not sure if it started with that.
I think it did.
It was very influential, though. It's kind of what brought
did.
it to light. It could very well have started with that. But this new line is starting with Gotham by Gaslight. It's starting with the sequel called The Kryptonian Age. And it's going to be detailing, of course, Superman landing.
We didn't set that up just now. That was literally
No, that was not.
all organic.
That was all
right?
That was all organic. We are getting that sequel to Gotham by Gaslight, which there was kind of a sequel to Gotham by Gaslight. There was the original story, and then there was a little short story afterwards that now if you pick up any paperback for Gotham by Gaslight, it's just included in it.
Oh, okay.
It's not fantastic, gonna be honest. I prefer the Gotham by Gaslight movie. I think that the twist in the movie is a bit better than the twist in the
I
comic.
don't know if I watched that.
I think you have. It's a great movie. It's a great comic. I even enjoy it still, but I am excited about the sequel series, and we are getting a bunch of other runs coming out as well, detailing other what if scenarios basically for DC. Definitely check that out later this year. Super excited for that. But I think that's pretty much going to do it for this episode. We do have a new weekly release schedule. Want to make sure you're keeping up to date with that. Mondays are going to be kind of what we're excited about, just in the moment that week, what we're pretty much talking about in the car or sending each other on Messenger or whatever's going on. What we're excited about is definitely what we're going to be talking about. Wednesdays, of course, today is the new comic book day. It is important to us to talk about that and keep you in the loop of what you need to pick up and what you need to keep an eye out for, and supporting local comic shops and just making sure that you're keeping breath into what makes, Deadpool and Wolverine play in theaters. And if it wasn't for comic books, we wouldn't be getting movies like that. And then Fridays, we have a series that we're going to be kind of following up with each other, talking about things. This time it's going to be animation, and you get to look forward to Clone Wars this week, and then Rebels, and then Bad Batch and Resistance, and all that things will be coming up after that. And of course, Rebels. We're big Rebels fans and definitely excited about that. But make sure to follow us on Substack. I follow people on Substack. I have for over a year and a half now. Thank you, Scott Snyder, for keeping me in the loop of everything.
I like that.
It's a great system. It's a great use of keeping a community. I mean, I'm surprised by how much I feel a community with that Scott Snyder Substack, and it's definitely the same way with following us on Substack. And you can
we're building it up. We need your help, though. We need you to be a part of it for that community to actually
that community can build. It's just all up to you at this point. And there'll be weekly recaps, in-depth explanation about what we were talking about, what we're going to talk about, kind of what we're experiencing, and just again, a community engagement. It's very easy on Substack to do that. Even if you're just part of the newsletter, you definitely feel like you're a part of a community like me. I think it's great, and it's pretty much an awesome way. So make sure to follow us on Substack. But I guess, is there anything else y'all would like to say? This feels weird on my part. Is there anything else? Yeah, go ahead.
May the force be with you.
May the force be with you.
May the force be with you.
I have spoken.